hungry, depressed, and anxiety-stricken. These words do not typically come to mind when you think of an innocent child, yet they describe the lives of so many. Have you ever seen a child that acts more bizarre than other children their age? Maybe a young boy who has an unusual amount of bruises, or a little girl who is frightened of all those who come near her. These are all behaviors of child abuse. I worked as a caregiver at a daycare at one point, and towards the end of my time there, I was introduced to a new attendee. As soon as I saw this little boy, the signs of abuse and neglect were evident. He was covered in a rash. He was 4 years old and in a diaper still. He wouldn't speak a word, and his tiny eyes with dark circles beneath them seemed to be soulless. My heart dropped. Child abuse is defined as the physical, emotional, or sexual abuse or neglect to a child or children. Child abuse is underreported. Knowing the different types of child abuse, the ways you can report it or prevent it, could give a child a brighter future. The audience will learn the different types of child abuse, the effects that it has on its victims, and ways to prevent and report it after listening to my speech. This brings me to my first point, the different types of child abuse. Neglect is the most commonly reported form of child abuse. This has to do with the abandonment or lack of supervision from an adult or guardian. Half of all child abuse fatalities are a result of neglect. Physical abuse is willfully inflicted harm on a child's body. This is the second most commonly reported form of child abuse. This can also come from excessive disciplinary measures. Sexual abuse is the third most commonly reported form of child abuse. This is when a child is involved in sexual activity that is inappropriate to their developmental age. And non-touching forms of sexual child abuse involve any involvement with child pornography or prostitution. The least common form of child abuse is emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is hard to document and is a component of all other forms of child abuse. Children going through emotional abuse may go through isolation, corruption, verbal assault, or peer pressure. It was reported by the USDHHS that an estimated 1,460 children died in 2005 due to child abuse and neglect. 76.6% of that number were children ages 3 years old or younger. This brings me to my second point, the effects of child abuse. Behavioral problems such as aggression or seclusion often come from child abuse. Emotional disorders such as depression or concentration, and health issues such as malnourishment, and also substance and alcohol abuse may occur. All of these things can lead to death and are really sad. The third National Incident Study of Child Abuse and Neglect reported that 3 times the amount of children are abused than reported to CPS. This brings me to my last point, the ways to prevent and report child abuse. Ways to prevent child abuse from happening to children in your care are learning firearm, water, and seatbelt safety. Also, keeping children away from poisons and violent situations. The most common thing to do when you suspect a child is being abused is to call your local CPS agency. They will get children the help that they need. Father Herbert Ward of St. Jude's Ranch for Abused and Neglected Children once said, "Child abuse casts a shadow the length of a lifetime." This could not be more true. Child abuse follows a child for the rest of its life, up to adulthood. So what will you do next time you suspect a child is being abused? Remember, sometimes children don't have a voice.